Healthcare Sunday on 104.7 KJUL, sponsored by TrueCare Treatment Centers. Now, your host, Warren Zysman.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Healthcare Sunday on KJUL 104.7 FM. I'm your host, Warren Zysman. I'm an addictions expert and therapy expert over at TrueCare Treatment Centers, who's our sponsor. Today, we're very lucky to have a wonderful guest, Bishop Bonnie Radden. Bishop Bonnie Radden is one of the most prominent figures in the LGBTQIA community for both mental health and other behavioral health services. She's known throughout the West Coast for her work in developing comprehensive mental health initiatives. Bishop Bonnie holds 2 master's degrees, one in clinical psychology with a specialization in LGBTQ studies and one in pastoral counseling. Additionally, she received a certification from the USC in mass crisis counseling to respond to mass crisis situations like the Pulse nightclub shooting in June 2016, which she was called to respond, and the shooting in Las Vegas on October 1st, 2017. The state of Nevada hired her in response to the mass shooting as their LGBTQIA representative to bring health and wellness to the LGBTQIA community in Nevada, particularly dealing with mental health and LGBTQIA cultural competency. Shortly after coming to Nevada, Bishop saw the gaps in services for the LGBTQIA community, and God gave her a vision for a nonprofit entitled The Gathering Place. The Gathering Place is a grassroots nonprofit organization providing comprehensive wraparound services to adolescents, teens, transitional age youth, as well as seniors and veterans in minority communities. The Gathering Place is now a legal 501c3 nonprofit in the state of Nevada. Bishop Radden is excited about the Gathering Place in partnership with TrueCare Treatment Centers and will be opening its offices to serve the LGBTQIA community September 2nd, and we have a special focus on our transgendered community in those offices. Bishop Bonnie has served for the last 23 years as the senior pastor for the Refiners Fire Fellowship United Church of Christ in Long Beach, California. She also serves as the West Coast Regional Bishop to the Fellowship of Affirming Ministries under the leadership of Bishop Yvette Flunder. She is most proud of her work to an orphanage located in Zimbabwe entitled The Art House, and currently is developing a book and workbook entitled Inside Out, devoted to emotional wellness for meaningful life experiences and expression. She is by many looked at as an intellect via lectures and topics range of all behavioral health issues. She is engaged to the love of her life, Miss Joyce Martin, and they plan on being married sometime in 2020, and I can't wait to be at that event.
I can't wait for you to be there.
Without further ado, welcome Bishop Bonnie to the show.
Thank you, Warren. Thank you so much. It's great to be here today.
There's so many different things that you're involved in.
Oh my gosh.
I want to just kind of jump into it and get started with, we talked, in your bio a little bit about what brought you out here to Las Vegas. Maybe you can talk about the work that you were doing, prior to coming to Las Vegas, and what was your calling to join our community here?
Absolutely. So I've been in the Southern California area for about 35 years and was passionate about emotional and mental well-being. And because of that, I decided to go back to school and get a degree, a master's in psychology with a specialization in our community. There were some things that were tugging at my heart. And so then I began to partner with LA County Department of Mental Health and served on their advisory committee, and was asked by LA County Department of Mental Health if I would write some curriculum and serve as a prevention and early intervention piece for the LGBTQIA community, to which I did. Many people thought that you could not get past their county board of supervisors and their attorneys with the curriculum, and yet I did. And so we, for about 18 months, did work in LA County around prevention and early intervention, mental health in the LGBTQIA plus community. Now, from this point forward, I'm just going to call it the community. There you go. So I did a lot of work there. A lot of people do or do not know that LA County has the largest department of mental health in the world, as well as in the last few years, they merged their Department of Health with their Department of Mental Health. So lots of folks who look at them to see how they can do things in mental health. When the shooting happened here in Las Vegas, because of the work I believe I've done there, and also, let me just rewind, and you did say that a little bit, is back in about 14 or so, USC got a grant. FEMA had a grant that they gave to USC, asked them to train 20 counselors in these mass shootings, to which I was chosen. And so when the shooting happened here in October, I was called by Director Richard Whitley in the Department of Health and Human Services, along with Senator Pat Spearman, and asked me if I could come and help them around some issues in the LGBTQ community. So I came, and a couple of weeks after I was here, I saw the gaps, and my heart was tugging. And so not only did I continue to do the work with the state, but started the Gathering Place in December of 2017, and was granted our 501c3 in August of 2018.
Fantastic. And I know in the community here, the Gathering Place has already started to do tremendous work. Can we talk a little bit about some of the work that the Gathering Place is doing here in Las Vegas?
Sure. So we've begun to do various things. We did a lot of mental health work after the shooting in various faith-based organizations and other locations. We did groups. Additionally, unfortunately, the state of Nevada ranks number one in senior suicides and senior homelessness, as well as LGBTQ youth homelessness and LGBTQ youth suicides. So we've been working very diligently providing mental health services as well for them, as well as beginning to provide education, provide employment, provide housing. We just housed a trans couple that was homeless for 8 months just 2 weeks ago, and to see the smile on their face. I saw them a couple of weeks ago, and I asked them, how is it having your own place? And the smile from ear to ear was enough for me for a lifetime.
I've seen firsthand the work that you've been doing with the Gathering Place.
Thank you so
the
much.
Lives that you've touched here in the community. And every person that I've met who's been able to get help from the Gathering Place has said, if it wasn't for Bishop Bonnie and for Pam, things would have kept getting worse. And from the time they came into you came into their lives, you were able to give positive momentum and the support, help, and resources and advocacy. One of the things I see with you is you're an unbelievable advocate. It comes from your heart, and it's something you're so passionate about. And you've been such a great advocate for the community here in Las Vegas, and we're all really blessed to have you as a member and a leader in our community.
Thank you. It's a joy, actually. And one thing, let me just say this. I said that it would take a trumpet blast to get me out of Southern California, near the beautiful beaches and the cool air. And yet, the piece about the work here that has pulled me so strongly, I couldn't ignore it. So that's what caused me not only to begin the work, but also to move myself and my family, and to purchase a home here. So we are legal residents.
Absolutely. We're so glad that you made that commitment to the community, and that you have such a supportive family. I know I've met Joyce, and she's wonderful, and it's really a blessing to see two people love each other so happy together.
Thank you.
There's a whole bunch of things that we talked about in your bio. I know one of the things that in our discussion before the show you had brought up is a lot of people know about one of the shootings that happened, but there was another shooting that happened after.
Absolutely.
And how that was, has also been part of your calling in terms of trying to help the trans community here. Maybe if you could speak a little bit to that.
Absolutely. So most people know about the October 1 shooting, but they don't know about a shooting that happened February 23rd in 2018 at the Las Vegas Lounge, which is a lounge that's frequented by our particularly trans women community. I was asked to go and see one of the victims that was shot up pretty bad in the hospital, in a rehab facility actually, as a pastor. But when I got to that rehab facility, I was appalled by, number one, the way the rehab facility was treating her. It was horrendous. Her leg was shot up, so she had a halo on her leg, if you could imagine this. And the staff wouldn't even treat her in ways that a human being needs to be treated. So her bandages had to be changed. I believe it was 2 to 3 times a day. So they would just throw the bandages in there. Her mother was a nurse and lived in Detroit. Her mother flew out here from Detroit to help take care of her. And then after her mother went back, her cousin or a friend had to come to help her all the time. So when I went to see her, not only was that an atrocity to me, but additionally here in the state of Nevada, her name is Callie. Now legally, she has a different legal name right now, but we've done some things and put them into place. I'll explain that in a moment. And so they had her legal name on her wristband and on the door. But by law, here in the state of Nevada, if she tells them to call me Callie, that's what they're supposed to call her. But on her insurance and her intake forms can have her legal name. They weren't doing that. So we did some things and began, and I thank God for Director Whitley, who immediately came to the plate. I made a phone call and we did some things. And I do want to say that some additional things happened that were horrendous. I remember one thing that happened that day, Warren, that I'll never forget, and that's what's caused me now to think about, and I'll talk about this office we're opening in partnership with TrueCare, was that I said, why did no one say anything about being treated like this? Why didn't anybody say change the name, or why didn't you call someone and say we're not being treated properly? I will never forget the manager of that Las Vegas Lounge, Jennifer, was in that room that day with this young lady, Callie, along with a couple other trans girls and the cousin of Callie, and they said this: we are used to not having our voice heard. And I said that day ended the day you met me. And we're going to let your voice be heard. And as a result of that, the state helped to write a document entitled Changing Your Gender in Nevada, which can be found on the Department of Health and Human Services website. Many of the trans community does not know that now the state will pay to change their name, their F marker, and various other things. And lots of folks, especially the trans community, do not change their name because it's costly. It's been costly. They have to get an attorney, but that's not the case anymore. So we did that. And then additionally, she continued to be treated wrong there. And I want to just publicly say that the director of College Park Rehab Facility, Julie Lebo, I called her. She embraced me, embraced this young gal, Callie. We moved her to that facility very quickly one evening, and then Callie was able to not only heal physically, but begin to heal emotionally. It's very difficult for that. And so as a result of even those pieces around Callie, I will say this, that a couple of our legislators took on a bill, SB 470, which is a cultural competency bill here that Governor Sisolak signed June 1st and went in effect July 1st, I think it is, covering cultural competency, particularly around LGBTQIA plus individuals who are in licensed healthcare facilities here in Nevada. And that additionally is what caused me to begin to work even more in depth with our trans community in opening our offices that we will open up next week, where we will be able to allow trans individuals to come and be have complete services. So we're excited about that, including the behavioral health services that TrueCare will provide for them. So that's how that all started.
It's an amazing story, and really speaks to the advocacy and your response time to the needs in the community, and we're all very grateful for that. I know when you started out on this journey in terms of developing services that would be focused specifically to the trans community, You talked a lot about that experience with that young lady who had that experience, and then you've also told me a lot about some other experiences where sometimes folks who are in the trans community will seek services at a doctor's office or a therapist's office, and those folks may not be that culturally sensitive or aware, and some of the barriers because of those experiences, and kind of if you can kind of lay out what your vision is and kind of connect it all for us so that our audience really knows the really dynamic and innovative services that you're providing that shouldn't be innovative and they should be standard of care across medicine, but it's going to be something that I think is really going to help the community, and I think your vision is so important that our listeners learn about.
So one of the things that we will do when we open up our offices is we will provide complete wraparound services. We've been told by various organizations that we're the only ones that can do that, and we were looking for a strong partner. So when we partnered with TrueCare, what we will do is provide whole services. So when an individual comes, we'll be able to provide behavioral health. We'll be able to provide employment development, as well as job readiness, as well as housing, as well as clothing, help them to change their name if they need us to do that. I mean, I'm talking about complete wraparound services, as well as we've been in the community, because one of the things that happened is the state, along with myself, have worked on some focus groups, and we've heard from the community. And so oftentimes, and I'll tell you a horrific story that I just heard this past week, that a trans individual went to go to the doctor for a sore throat, and they made them completely disrobe. Now, that's uncalled for. So what we've done additionally is that the state on their the DHHS website, so here it is, dhhs.nv.gov/LGBTQ health, will begin to have a listing of not only medical facilities, but doctors, behavioral health places that are safe places for particularly our trans community, as well as the rest of the LGBTQ community. So I'm excited about that, because it is very, very difficult. And there are much higher mental health challenges, much higher health challenges for the community. And because of that, they just don't seek out. And because of the pushback from where they are in the unsafe place, the community just doesn't seek health care nor behavioral health care. So I'm excited that we have begun to be able to share with the community here in Las Vegas that there are some safe places like Proud Together, the gathering place in TrueCare, that we are together putting these pieces together so they can feel safe and get the services that everybody else is getting and deserves.
And those are the offices that you're opening right across from Palace Station on Paseo de Prado.
That's exactly right.
Fantastic. We're very excited. We're very, very excited for that, and I know I'm eagerly awaiting the announcement for the grand opening. I know the offices, you said, are scheduled to open next week, so that's really special. Is there going to be any kind of transportation services for the trans community available in terms of being able to get there? I know a lot of times we get feedback from folks in the community that the public transportation to get to any kind of outpatient services can be really, really tough. Buses can sometimes take an hour and a half. And that's oftentimes what we hear is a barrier to people getting help. Is your program going to be offering free transportation?
Absolutely, and we've hired a driver and outreach coordinator, and absolutely. So a simple phone call. In fact, the individual that I was talking to you about, a couple that we just were able to house, they've already began getting services at TrueCare right now, and there was no way that they had any transportation. Plus, they had some health challenges that really prevent them from getting on public transportation. But TrueCare was able to go and pick them up, and so we have the same. We're going to be doing those very same pieces where we're able to provide that transportation to and from, door to door, not dropping them off on the corner, not dropping them off a mile away, but door to door services. So we're excited about that opportunity as well.
Wonderful. And I know you've told me before the show that you put together some wonderful curriculums, that you've recruited some really good staff, and that you're going to be doing ongoing training and supervision and work with them in terms of maintaining, a high quality of service, for the trans and LGBTQ community. So it's a really, really exciting project. I know since you've been here in Las Vegas, one of the things that you've done a fantastic job doing is bringing the community together. And you've had, a lot of folks within the community who've done a lot of good, great work with you, including your right hand, Pam. So I just want to give you an opportunity to maybe, speak to, some of the good work that, the folks in the community have done with you. I know there's also, a lot of, great churches here that have been really supportive as well. So I just wanted to give you a platform to acknowledge some of the folks.
Thank you so much. One of the things that happened when I first came here was that we began to knock on doors, and I want to say first a shout out to Tony Gladney, who is the head of diversity for MGM, embraced me with a great big arms, and additionally has offered to us employment opportunities for our community, because oftentimes it's difficult, particularly our trans community, to find the right jobs for them. But Tony Gladney embraced myself, and then he encouraged me to get in touch with the Asian Community Development Center, which ACDC, which is led by Vida, and I apologize, I can't remember Vida's last name, and Yui, and their director and vice director, and embraced us, gave us office space, helped us, connected us, as well as the interfaith group here, various churches from Indigo Valley to Abundant Peace to Las Vegas Spiritual Center, a number of other folks who have begun to embrace us, Community Counseling Center, and Patrick Bozar and Arinel, they were embracing to us as well. And so, I really have a saying in life that says this: we are far more powerful together than ever apart. And one of the challenges is kind of bringing everybody together and everyone understanding that we are somebody else's somebody every day. That's a saying that I have, that every single day we are somebody else's somebody, and we just come together, and we're just all a spoke in the wheel of causing great things to happen for a marginalized group of folks. And so I'm grateful for them, and I do also want to say that I'm incredibly grateful to Roxanne Lee, who got in touch with me, heard some of the work that I did, and it was actually just through another individual that I was supposed to speak at her church, who connected us, Ruth Allman, and then connected me with yourself and TrueCare, and the partnership is amazing, and I'm just excited and grateful that we can do this thing together.
Absolutely. Well, I always say the definition of coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous.
There you go.
And I think that's a good segue to kind of talk a little bit about, your spiritual and your religious background. I know you're a bishop. Maybe you want to talk to us a little bit about how you made that decision and that calling, and how it has helped you in your calling to serve the community and the populations that you've been working with the Gathering Place, and now with TrueCare with the Proud Together program.
Okay. So I didn't grow up in any kind of spiritual place. In fact, my parents sent us off to church when they had partied. And so I didn't grow up in any type of peace. But when I was 16 years old, I had a spiritual connection due to someone in my high school, and had a deep calling, I guess is all I could say, to that piece. I went to Mexico as a young person and served there in a mission, and just felt a great a spiritual peace. I tell people all the time that it doesn't matter what your spiritual well-being is, as long as you have something. Mine may not be yours and yours may not be mine, but the reality is that all of us have a part of our life that feels something that we have that calling to. So back in 1996, a group of LGBTQ folks were thrown out of a spiritual place. And it was very hurtful to them. And I was one of those people. We began to meet in my bonus room in my condo at that time, once a month, and it just grew. And as a result of that, and I'll tell you honestly, the truth, Warren, is that I never wanted to be a pastor because every pastor that I knew at that time was broke, busted, and disgusted, and lights getting turned off. And that happened to me as a child. I didn't want that as an adult. I had a great job at the time, but a group of people got together and said, look, it's pretty obvious to us, but not to you. We want you to be our pastor. So I said, look, I'll do it for a year. But after that, if you don't like me and I don't like you, we just part our ways. Well, 23 years later, I'm still doing this piece. As of June was 23 years. Now, I've always believed in collaboration. I've always believed, again, that we're more powerful together. So I was a part of another organization that didn't really work out because my congregation is predominantly African American, and I needed someone that really understood diversity and cultural competencies. So in 2001, I connected with Bishop Yvette Flender out of Oakland, California, and the organization was just that, an organization, not a denomination, and we just believe everybody is welcome at the table. We have all kinds of different folks, from denominations to Yoruba priests. We have close to 1,000 spiritual organizations, from churches to spiritual centers. We have partnerships with all kinds of denominations, from the United Church of Christ to the Metropolitan Community Church to the Disciples of Christ to the Association of Global New Thought, which is Michael Beckwith, who is Oprah's pastor. He asked us to ordain him as a bishop. Bishop William Barber, who is known today as the next, not the next, but they know him as the guy who's picked up where Martin Luther King left off. He asked us also to be a part of our organization, he and his wife and his family. And so in 2001, I partnered with them. I was known as the West Coast Regional administrator, and then in 2011, Bishop Flender felt that it was important to begin to call us to what is called a bishop. And a bishop, so folks know what a bishop is. A bishop just basically pastors. They help them, and I don't do anything else besides help them. I don't pastor their churches. I don't oversee their spiritual centers. And so I became involved with them, and I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that leadership. Bishop Flender was the right-hand spiritual person to President Obama, and I've just seen great things and saw the organization grow in a great way. We just had a conference in New Jersey, and folks from all over the world came. We have organizations and spiritual centers in London, in Africa, in Asia, in Mexico. So I'm excited about that as well.
Well, you are one of the most dynamic, brilliant people I've ever met in my life, Bishop Bonnie. From your spirituality, your intellect, your educational background, your work experience, your grassroots, you work with the community and behavioral health. It's really, really amazing, and we're really blessed to have you as a gem and a star in our community and a leader in our community. It's been great having you on the show.
Thank you so much.
I hope we can have you back again soon. Absolutely. I want to hear updates on how things are going with the new clinic. Very, very excited for you. Bishop, if we have individuals in the audience who want to contact you and reach you at the clinic, what number can they reach you at, and how do they to make an appointment?
Absolutely. So if you want to find out about our services and you'd like to come into the office, we'd encourage you to call 1-833-203-2848. Again, that's 1-833-203-2848, and we'd be glad to help you in any way that we possibly can.
And there's free transportation, psychiatry, therapy, and medical services available at your facility.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much. I just want to give a shout out to our sponsor, TrueCare Treatment Centers. TrueCare Treatment Centers has a 24/7 hotline. If you, a loved one, or a family member have a mental health or substance abuse issue and need help, feel free to call 24/7 at 833-203-2848. That's 833-203-2848. Everyone have a wonderful Sunday, and thank you for tuning in.
This has been Healthcare Sunday on 104.7 KJUL, sponsored by TrueCare Treatment Centers.